Hey, welcome to this video. In my previous videos, I've talked quite a bit about my wife and I's plan to eventually leave where we're living now in New Zealand, because we'd like to just retire as early as we possibly can so that we can just spend a bit of time doing what we want when we want. And I've talked quite a bit about the financial reasons already, but that's not the full picture. In this video, I'd like to explore some of the other reasons I've been thinking about lately. Being away from your hometown, your home country even, it's going to affect you in a lot of ways. I think one of the most obvious ways is that you grow disconnected from the people you left behind. Your family, your friends, everybody moves on. And if you come back some years later, people have just been living their lives, and you can find out that you don't have as much in common as you used to. You know, I spent a long time living in Japan, and I always thought that I would return home to New Zealand. I'd say my last 4 or 5 years in Japan, I felt a little bit burnt out by the place. That's not quite the right term, but just a little bit done with it in a lot of ways, especially the work culture, but that's another story. And the other thing that living overseas for a really long time has taught me is that I'm pretty sure that by now I'm the type of person who likes to move around a bit. Well, what am I saying? I lived in Japan for 20 years. I stayed there for a really long time. But I think what I really mean is I'm the type of person who likes to go and experience different cultures. And if I deep dive into my personality and history a little bit more, it starts to make sense. I think I learned a lot of this, or got a lot of this, from my mum, who when she was younger traveled around by herself quite a bit. And I remember being quite young and hearing her stories every now and then of the places she went, the things she got up to when she was young. And those stories sounded amazing to me. She was a pretty brave person. And I don't know why I'm going down this tangent exactly, but to give you an idea of how brave she was. I mean, I heard her say once when I was younger that she wasn't afraid to die, and I mean that proved to be true, because I remember being in the hospital with her when she was in the last few days of her life, and she was on a ventilator. She couldn't breathe properly, and the doctors came in and they said, realistically, if we take the ventilator out, you're not going to be able to breathe on your own. Do you want to live like this? And she straight up said no straight away. So she stood by those words. She was very brave. I like to think some of that bravery is rubbed off on me, that sense of adventure. I don't think I'm quite that brave, to be honest. But she liked to go and travel and experience places by herself, and I quite like to do that as well. Growing up, you go through school, I remember other kids talking about what they wanted to do when they left school. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be a doctor, I want to study law, etc. The only thing I knew that I would like to do would be to travel. And that's what I did. And fast forward now to when I have traveled around a bit, and now I'm back here in New Zealand, I add it all up, and I don't quite feel like I belong here anymore. I feel like a little bit of a stranger at times, and too, my time away has really taught me that I do love to go and experience different cultures, and I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. And I should say at this point as well, I don't think New Zealand's necessarily a bad place or anything. Nowhere's perfect. Every place I've been to has its issues, it's got its problems, got its positives too. From now on, I'm just looking at creating more options, my wife and I, and we're not looking at leaving New Zealand as soon as we can. It's just something we're building towards in the very near future, hopefully. Again, that optionality, being able to go and do what we want when we want, because we both have come to the conclusion that we're really happy when we can just spend time traveling around, experiencing different cultures, new places, that sort of thing. And that's what we want to do. And another thing I've come to realize about life in New Zealand is how geographically isolated the place is. I think one of the reasons I spent so much time living in Asia was that you've just got so many options when it comes to travel. There's so many countries nearby and it's quite cheap and easy to go to those places, and each country is very different. When I came back here to New Zealand, after a year or so, some of that shine of being back wore off a little bit. I suddenly realized I couldn't just hop over very quickly to somewhere like Thailand or Vietnam or Singapore or Malaysia. And the closest foreign country we have is Australia, and I mean, it's fairly similar to here, really. It's never really been a place I'm very interested in going to, because as I say, I'm really interested in going to experience different cultures. So those are some of the bigger, deeper reasons for moving overseas. But what are some of the other reasons why we want to move overseas, particularly to Southeast Asia? Well, my wife's from Japan, and we've sort of agreed that it would make sense for both of us really to be back in Asia, because we'd have that proximity to both Japan and New Zealand. And of course there's the monetary reasons, and I've gone a little bit deeper into some of those in previous videos. But I will say this, living in a place like New Zealand isn't cheap. And I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I honestly don't see the place getting any cheaper anytime soon. It's kind of a discussion for another day, I suppose, but one big thing I did notice after being away from New Zealand for so long was the increase in population. And primarily that makes things like housing very, very expensive. One thing I did learn after I came back to New Zealand was how important and how prominent the whole real estate property industry is here. It is absolutely all absorbing. It feels like the whole economy here is just the housing property market, with a little bit of retail and some other businesses tacked on the side. And if property real estate is your main economic activity, the way to keep that humming along is to keep demand for property and housing really, really high. And it seems like to me, it doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum the government comes from, they all do the same thing. So with that said, I don't necessarily want to fight that. I just want to concentrate on things that I can control. And what I can control is, well, just moving somewhere cheaper, to be honest. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts on why I'm okay, my wife and I are both okay with the notion of leaving where we are here in New Zealand to up sticks and go to Southeast Asia and retire as early as we possibly can. I'm really, really interested to hear from anybody else who's had similar experiences to me. Are you someone that's lived overseas for a long time, come back and experienced a bit of reverse culture shock? If so, how did you deal with it? Are you dealing with it by moving overseas again? Or are you getting over it by just staying put and just thinking that, you know, your traveling days are done? If you do have that experience, or some of the thoughts I've talked about in this video resonate with you, I'd love to hear about them. Maybe drop them in the comments. But in any case, thanks for watching and see you in another one.